I am Mark Morozinski. I am a senior premier field engineer based out of Chicago. And I'm with Young Ree, who's also a senior premier field engineer based out of Irvine, California.
Hey, guys.
So, man, a few words. All right. So, we're going to talk about what's getting ready for BYOD, what's in Windows to Go, and how does it actually work, and really how can you guys take back some tips and stuff and start testing and deploying this in your environment, as well as some real customer experience stories. And if you stay to the very end, we have an extra super secret bonus slide that Young helped put together. So, all right, so let's get ready for BYOD. Let's talk about a quick overview of where we are with all this. So really, the thing to think about is in 2010, we had this really well-defined environment. We knew exactly where everything was located. We knew when employees were working, where they're working, what resources they're connecting from, what devices, what the OS release they were on. We knew when the next OS release was coming because we controlled all that. And really, we were much more comfortable with how we would just all work together. And our job was much easier. But really, the expectations around this from our users are changing, really. And the expectations are to be able to work anywhere, anytime. They want to be able to work from a coffee shop. They want to be able to work at home. But more importantly, they want to be able to access corporate data while they're doing this. And this isn't just a few handful of users. This is really starting to go mainstream. And from Microsoft's standpoint, I get questions, Young gets questions. Hey, how do we do this BYOD stuff? What is work folders? What is workplace join? What is Windows to Go? How does this all really come together? And how do we do this in a way that is enterprise-grade mobility? So really what we're talking about with that is manageability and security, right? We don't want to be the next company in the paper with a data leak, any of that kind of stuff. So we really need to be ready for what devices are coming in because we don't have a lot of control over that anymore, right? People are buying their own devices. They want to bring it to work and get it hooked up, and you need to be prepared, right? And we need to find a good balance between security, performance, and users' acceptance. So this is a really good session to attend, really start getting prepared to see where this can fit in your organization. So I have a question for everybody. What is the most dangerous thing in IT? Users. We're going to come right back to that in about 3 more slides. The most dangerous thing in IT is a manager with a magazine. So is there any managers in here? I sort of apologize, but not really. So they'll come back, right? And they'll say, hey, I just read this article about blah, 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 blah. We need to do this. So you guys need to be ready for this. So once the CTO calls, you guys need to be ready to do this. So really, mobility is changing how we work, but it's also changing how we do business. So mobile has been talked about a lot here this week. Some interesting stats. 80% of workers spend at least some portion of their time working out of the office. So raise your hand if you did some work today from this conference. Yeah, so that was just a test to see who was kind of already nodded off. So someone that didn't raise their hand, give them an elbow, because probably everybody did some work so far since they've been here. How many people have more than 3 devices with them? Yeah, good luck getting through TSA today on your way home, right? I mean, that's the norm. We're going to have more connected devices than we are people on the planet, right? This is where it's going. So really, it says this is how the future looks. This is how it is today, right? The perimeter is disappearing. We need to be able to manage securely a customer experience that they want. So when I asked you guys, what's the worst part about IT? You guys said, the users, which is really interesting. Since that should be your customers, not the people that are the worst. But on the bus on Wednesday, we were going back to the hotel, and 2 people were talking about some of the sessions they attended and interesting things they saw and things they wanted to do and implement when they got back. Conference syndrome at its best, right? They were all fired up. And someone asked, well, how are your users going to accept that? And they said, it doesn't matter. They hate IT anyways. And I was like, wow. You hate, your users hate you? They actually hate you? And I was like, I wonder how many other companies are like that. And then, of course, the person that asked that question without missing a beat said, yeah, our users hate us too. So, we could, it doesn't have to be that way, right? We can start changing it. So this kind of thing with Windows to Go, we can really have people enjoy coming to work and enjoy talking to IT and giving them a way to do their job in a secure way. So really, what is Windows to Go? So how many people have deployed Windows to Go at all? Well, that's a pretty good number. Last year was about, I think, 10% or something like that. That's pretty good. How many people brought a laptop or a tablet with them this week? Again, he's sleeping. Give him an elbow. How many brought a Windows to Go stick? Who just lived off a Windows to Go stick? Awesome. Okay. So that's starting to become, hopefully, after the session, we'll see where that really fits in. So what is Windows to Go? It enables, it's nothing special in terms of what version of Windows. It enables an enterprise to provision a full corporate environment that people can boot and run from on multiple computers on a USB drive. So it's going to be your full corporate image of Windows, all your line of business apps, all your productivity suites on a USB drive. You can plug it into multiple machines, get access to this data, and they get activated through KMS like any other machine in your environment. So this is really what we're talking about. It's not, there's no secret sauce, there's no special build of Windows or anything like that. This is your standard version of Windows. I'm going to hand off to Young here real quick for some demo time.
So let's go ahead and switch to 7. So I'm booting up my system right now. I'm booting up my system right now, and I have a Windows to Go device plugged into the to the main USB slot, and I just booted Windows 10 out of it. Let me go ahead and share this out. So this Lenovo will only let me extend the vision. So just give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and log in. And this is where you go drink a coffee and come back, right?
Exactly.
So here we have Windows 10, and I'm going to go ahead and extend the window. And it looks exactly the same as a regular physical device when you have Windows to Go. So let me go ahead and bring up Explorer. So in here we have my computer, and this device is a 64 gig USB Windows to Go certified device. And the other thing that you'll notice is that if we go into Device Manager, let me go ahead and bring it up. You'll see that all the hardware that you would normally see on a regular system would show up. So I have an NVIDIA Quadro video here, and I also have an Intel HD graphics, so that when it goes into low power state or when I'm running in battery, is able to utilize that video card. So for the end user, this will look exactly the same. And even for the power users, what you'll see is, let's say that we got a little application crash, and you guys got developers that need to do some troubleshooting. That could bring up the Windows debugger, and then point it out to the dump file, open crash dump, and then we could go to the C drive and go into the temp. Let me go ahead and create a little file here in Notepad. And what I'm doing is I'm just creating a dump file using Task Manager. And you can see the path right here. I'm going to go ahead and copy this into the debugging tools for Windows. And it works exactly the same as a physical machine. So your end users will be able to not only do some advanced troubleshooting on their system, or the developers could do some advanced troubleshooting, or you could run applications such as OneNote without any problems. So let's go ahead and bring up OneNote. And you can see here that OneNote is available for the end users to go ahead and use. And the other thing is, they'll be able to also open up applications like PowerPoint and do their demonstrations without any problems. So they'll be able to work on their PowerPoint presentations, their Office, Word docs, any kind of heavy rendering video. It uses all the capabilities of the machine. The other thing is, if we go ahead and write something important, and let's say the end user goes ahead and tries to remove the USB stick. Let me go ahead and play a little video that shows the capability of Windows to Go. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug the USB stick. It freezes the OS for 60 seconds. So the reason we do that is we let the end user realize that they need to stick that USB stick back into the system. And just like a kernel debugger, we freeze the whole kernel and we'll let the OS get restarted. But the only challenge is if you do stick it into the wrong USB port, right? And it's not done in that 60-second period, your system will go ahead and become unresponsive and blue screen. So with that, let's go ahead and switch back over to your system, to your PowerPoint.
Sure. So really what we're talking about here is kind of an example, right? So we have our normal laptop. We have AppV, UEV, all these things running. We have folder redirection. And we can take this stick, USB stick like Young just did, and stick it in any laptop, and we get the same stuff that you have today on your corporate thing. And you can even use this outside of your environment, which we're going to kind of get to here. So you really get a consistent experience. I'm not sure why that image isn't working. But all right, so where does this actually kind of fit in? There's a couple different scenarios that are really, really good. So the first scenario is the contractor scenario, right? You don't want to provision them a corporate device. You don't want them to bring their own device in, domain join, get access to all your resources, because you guys can't control it, right? We can't lock it down. We can't put our group policy settings. We can't put our security software on there. If you provision them a Windows to Go device, it has your image on it. They're able to get all the settings that you want them to have, and they can use their own hardware. Same thing goes for the bring your own device at work for your users. Allow employees to bring their own laptops. Maybe they have a specific device they like better than what you guys are offering, or maybe they just like whatever it is. You're able to give them this Windows to Go device. They plug it into their laptop, their personal laptop. Again, it's all of their corporate image, your security settings, all that stuff on there. Next one, traveling light, work from home. Who here thinks they travel a lot? Anyone more than like 100 segments, 100 flights a year? There we go, road warriors. That's right. So it's a pain to carry your heavy laptop around, right? You can just carry this Windows to Go drive around with you. You can plug it into your home machine, get your corporate data. You can use it at work, just like anything else. Next, shared PCs. This works really, really good for schools, right? So you have different PCs that they're going to use. You give the students a Windows to Go drive. It has all their stuff on it. It has everything they need. They're able to jump from machine to machine. And then lastly, up and running on Windows 8 or Windows 10. So this is kind of a neat way to do this. Before rolling out the new version of something, you give them Windows to Go drives. They're able to then plug it in, use your new version of the image. They're able to try it, test it out, learn. You can do training this way without actually having to wipe their machine and re-image it. So later, they're prepared when that actually happens. So I know what you're probably thinking now, and I'm going to start this conversation how everyone starts this conversation by saying, I am not a licensing expert. Is there anyone that's a licensing expert in this room? Get them out. Okay, so I've tried to simplify this as much as you can. So Windows to Go requires an enterprise SKU, and it really uses your software assurance benefits. So roaming rights provides the primary user of any SA to other devices. So they're covered under the corporate office. You can use this at a branch office. You can use it at home. You can use it at a coffee place, library, whatever. It's all covered under your SA. For the BYOD employees, this is also covered under the companion subscription license. So you just have to declare a primary device, and then they're good to go on that. And then finally, again, the shared PCs scenario is really common. We have multiple users, multiple locations, multiple PCs. Again, this is all covered under software assurance. If you guys have other software-related or licensing questions, we'll be around after. We will do our best to answer them. If we can't answer them, we will definitely try to go get the answer for you guys. So what kind of devices can we really use here? So they have to be Windows to Go certified drives. We can't just take any drive and put the image on there. It has to be a certified drive. There's lots of different companies that do that. These drives are optimized really for high read, high write. They provide wear-level features including the longevity, and they're trusted to ensure they boot and run on hardware certified for use with either Windows 7 or Windows 8. That's all you really need to do. They can plug that in, but these drives are the Windows to Go certified drives are the only ones that are actually optimized and supported. So here's kind of a list from the Microsoft website. Several of these vendors were here this week. You guys probably talked to them. So this is all public info on the website, so you don't have to take a picture if you don't want to, unless you really want to read this on the way home. But it's all up on the website. That's where we got it from. There's lots of good stuff. And Young has some more demos, I think, for you here, right?
Yes.
To 7?
7?
Sure.
All right. So here we have HoloLens being presented on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and remove the USB key, and then, within like 5 to 10 seconds, put it back in, and you can see that the image continues running, right, without affecting the end users. So no data loss. The end user is able to continue with their productivity. This is great, right, because that could happen to an end user that is new to Windows to Go. And the other great thing about this is currently on my Surface Pro 3, I'm running Windows 8.1. And this gives me an opportunity to go ahead and test Windows 10 without having to format my Surface Pro 3 and have the same access to all the hardware specs on the system, and I get better speed than SATA drives, right? So, I got the best of both worlds. And on top of that, you're able to image it based on your enterprise image that you guys are using SCCM or MDT. So there was a question here?
Yeah, I had a question about can it access? How do the drive letters work? Is the C drive we're looking at the USB key, or is it the actual hard drive?
So the question is, what about the internal hard drive, right? What does drive letters? What do we see from the end user standpoint, right?
Yes. So to minimize the confusion, the local hard drive is offline. So that local hard drive is not visible to the end user. And the only hard drive that you see is the Windows to Go hard drive, the C drive that is local to Windows to Go. So it works great with offline files. It works great with OneDrive.
So it wouldn't be a good option if you wanted to make a diagnostic or a tool for a technician to go in and boot up this to fix a maybe got malware or some other problem?
Yes. So the question was, is this a good method of having a technician go around for the end users to be able to fix issues that they have on their systems? Absolutely. So in this In this instance, I have tools like a message analyzer, which is the Netmon replacement. I also have the Windows Performance Toolkit. So if I have high CPU utilizations or things like that, I could look into it. If I have a kernel mode memory leak, I could look into that. If I have private bytes memory leak, I could look into that. So any tool that you're able to run on the system to analyze different things, you could put it in here.
Okay, but you can't access the C drive.
Yes, you can access the C drive.
By default, you cannot, but you can change that.
So the question was, can you access the C drive? All you have to do is go into Disk Management, online it, and then it will give a different drive letter, and then you'll be able to access that C drive. Yes?
Are there ways, is it supported to use like a USB extender cable? Because I can see a big problem with having this USB stick hanging off there.
As long as it gets enough power.
Right, so the question was, so for people watching, right, was what about using a USB extender, right? Is that okay to use?
Yes. So as long as it gets enough power, it will work. Yes?
Couldn't help but notice when you hit Device Manager up, you had a yellow exclamation point in there. How do you deal with custom drivers on all the different laptops or devices?
Right. So the question was, how do you deal with different models of the laptops and devices? Because he did notice in Device Manager there were some bangs in there. Just like you guys image your current Windows 8.1, Windows 7 images, you will have to have those drivers available. This is working exactly like a regular Windows OS. So those drivers need to be a part of the package, or you guys will need to be pointing it to a UNC share for the end users to grab that or.
So with this, I guess the scenario I was envisioning for this would be if we're medical clinics, we've got doctors who go to hospitals and things and travel.
Yes.
One of these to the hospital, plug it in and use it.
Right.
But I'm concerned about, one, does the hospital allow booting from USB, and two,
Right.
are we going to have to find out? I mean, we can't have drivers for every model that every hospital in the area uses.
Right.
Yes. So those are, I think, challenges that.
You want to repeat the question?
So the question is, you work with hospitals where the doctors are roaming from one hospital to another, to different clinics, and it would be difficult to keep all the drivers available, right? So the base drivers like video, the base video driver, the storage driver, those are going to be available. Now, if those doctors have smart card readers that they have to use, those drivers would have to be available in the image for them to be able to run. And via Windows Update also, if you guys do allow Windows Update. And the challenge with USB being locked down, that's something that you guys would have to take care of that on your end. Yes. So, any other questions?
Sure.
Yes.
Is there a way to prohibit these drives from being accessible in any way, like block the storage controller driver from even loading?
So the question is there a way to block this? Yeah, you can do that via the SAM policy. We have a slide coming up on that. It's awesome because you guys are asking all the questions we're about to answer via slides. So that slides are going to be really exciting when we get to them. Yes. That means we are on the right track, though.
Awesome. So this removal is detected by the USB stack. So if you guys have been updating your USB drivers for Windows 7 and Windows 8.1, you want to do that with Windows To Go too, right? So if you don't have the USB drivers updated, and I'm not only talking about the USB drivers that ship with your desktops and laptops and tablets, but also with USB drivers that ship with the OS. Those are available with an update. If you guys go to support.microsoft.com, most of them are not available on Windows Update. These are for enterprise customers like yourselves. So those driver updates will help with any kind of stuttering issue, any kind of performance issue. So make sure you guys update the USB stack on your systems. We also go ahead and freeze the kernel, just like we would normally attach a debugger and do a live debug on the system. The whole kernel freezes, nothing goes forward. There's no CPU cycles being taken at that time. There's 60 seconds of that. Enough time for most end users to be able to return plug the USB stick back in. And the reason that was for 60 seconds was because whatever's on the screen remains on the screen while that USB stick is taken out. So, and
just like the demo.
Yes.
All right.
Back to you, Mark.
So random title slide in there. That's nice. Okay. So how does Windows To Go work? Another title. Awesome. Okay. So really we're talking about for you guys is protecting corporate data, right? So that's hopefully that has dawned on somebody already. Like what happens if somebody loses this drive that has all of my actual corporate image in it? We highly, highly recommend that you should always try to encrypt these. It's password key protected. There's no TPM chip, right? Because there's no TPM chip on the device. That makes sense. But you can use, like we said before, you can use all of your enterprise-grade management. So MDOP 2013, MBAM, all that, you can use that. Think of these like a device or like a laptop. And everything that you guys do with Windows 8 boot protection and Windows 10 boot protection, you will get here as well. It's all the same. And like I said before, you guys can take advantage of all the Windows security offerings just like a laptop. So all your remote connectivity solutions, all the GPOs, any of the antivirus software, all that can all be applied to this. Here's the question about the data leakage. So as we saw in Young's demo, the internal drive is marked offline. Standard users do not see the internal hard drive unless you're an admin. You can do this. All the external storage devices are still accessible, right? Because we have full access to the hardware. And the question about can we restrict those drives? Yes, you can utilize the SAM policy, the storage area network, to automatically not mount any other drives and lock this stuff out. And it can all be controlled via group policy. So how to actually do this? Windows 8, it's really, really easy. You just type in startup there, you pick yes, and it boots off of that. If you don't have Windows 8, you have to use your USB boot hotkeys and change the BIOS to boot from USB, and that's it. It's pretty straightforward.
Yes. So there's a trick, by the way, on Windows 8, 8.1. Before you restart, if you hold down the Shift key and click on Restart, it will give you the option to boot from USB. So if the user selects that, it's a lot easier than pressing F12 or changing the BCD boot.
Like I said, question.
Yes.
Does that work if booting from USB is disabled in the BIOS?
Does that work if booting from USB is disabled? No. The hardware will always come, will have priority over the OS. So it would not work.
The Windows bootloader, I assume, was starting to load and then redirecting it to USB. Is that what bypasses?
No, it won't bypass. The hardware takes precedence over it. Thank you.
Yep. So it is high performance. There's nothing lost. You get the full native hardware access to the machine. Same peripheral support, touch enabled, all that stuff. Young showed playing a video, running a debugger, OneNote, all that stuff. You can use all that stuff today. A couple of things to be aware of. If you're using Windows 8, the Windows Store is disabled by default due to licensing. If it's not allowed to move from machine to machine. If the user is going to be at one machine, you can turn the Windows Store back on through group policy, and all your side loading, line of business, Metro-style apps work regardless. Windows 8, Windows 8.1, the licensing changed, so now the store is enabled by default, and you can still sideload all your stuff. So we talked about working across multiple machines. When you plug the drive in on first boot, it detects the hardware, it loads the drivers, and it identifies this and stores it in the registry, and then it will boot faster on subsequent boots. And works across different firmware. How many of you guys have UEFI devices in your environment? Yeah, they're starting to kind of come around a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's catching on.
It's catching on. So it works on both UEFI and BIOS, but it doesn't solve architecture incompatibility. So what we're talking about here is if the machine's only a 32-bit you can't run a 64-bit version, so it doesn't help you with that. It has to be 64-bit, but you're probably all buying 64-bit machines anyways, right? So probably not a big deal. What do you lose with Windows to Go? The recovery environment is no longer there, so if you have to do a refresh or reset, you're going to have to re-image the device. Some other considerations here. Hibernate is disabled by default. You don't want to insert this while machine's running. You want to make sure you shut the machine down all the way before you pull the drive out. And it works. It will boot on any supported PC that's certified for Windows 7 or Windows 8, regardless of the OS that's on the machine. You could take it and plug it in today.
Thank you. So how can I test and deploy Windows to Go? So there are several methods. And the first one is via Windows to Go Creator and Windows 8, 8.1 Enterprise, and Windows 10 Enterprise Edition. So if you have a professional edition, this doesn't come with the, this wizard doesn't come with the OS. On Windows Enterprise Editions, which you guys would get via the SA agreement, would have this available. So the process that you would go through is, as soon as you insert the Windows to Go USB certified device, it will go ahead and detect that. And then it's going to ask for the WIM file that you guys have created using either MDT, Ghost, or other applications for imaging. With that said, you're also given a little prompt about putting a password for BitLocker if your environment uses BitLocker.
Highly recommended.
Yes, absolutely. So, yes. And let me go ahead and show you the Windows to Go Creator. It looks like this. The wizard is looking for a Windows to Go device, and let's see. I just went ahead and plugged one in. In this case, it found a Kingston. We're going to go ahead and click Next, and then at this point, it's going to go ahead and ask or look for the WIM file. And at that point, all you guys have to do is literally point to the WIM location, and then click on Finish. And it takes about, on USB 3, it takes about 12 minutes to go ahead and create the base image. On USB 2, it takes about 24 to 25 minutes to go ahead and create a Windows to Go device. So with that said, let's go ahead and switch back to Mark. Okay, so we got deployment scenarios. You still could use other deployment utilities such as SCCM if you're using SCCM to deploy your Windows client machines out there, or for those folks that are using XenWork or other methods of deployment mechanism. You guys are also able to use WDS, right? Windows Server Deployment Server, to go ahead and deploy these images without any problems. So the method that you would normally deploy to laptops, to desktops, to tablets, that's the same exact method that you would use. You would use the same exact imaging process. And if you guys had a Surface Pro 3 device, you would go ahead and create an image that was very specific to the Surface Pro 3 because it uses specific storage drivers. For those of you that attended yesterday on one of those Surface Pro 3 sessions, you'll see that if you install the wrong storage controller driver, the Surface Pro 3 could blue screen. So just keep that in mind. And this is our deployment scenarios. Again, this is where SCCM 2012 with SP1 would come in place, self-provision scenarios. And let's go on to the real customer experience.
Sure. So first one is a classroom. A lot of schools have adopted this. It's very, very flexible. A lot of times, higher ed has pretty good bandwidth, but lots of times high schools, elementary schools have really poor bandwidth. This makes it easier for deployment. The owner is able to take responsibility for this device. It's BitLocker encrypted and it's asset tagged and stamped, so it's treated exactly like any other corporate device that you would hand out. The other one is Emirates in-flight. So what they did, they had one of their major apps that is used by the cabin crew. It's called the KISS app. And what they did was they loaded this app on 100 different they loaded up on the USB Windows to Go drives. They gave it to the staff. They told them take it home. They gave them their training. They were able to boot off this, use it, learn the new version. And when they did roll it out, these people were all trained on it. Okay, so some field tricks. It's not that difficult for the end user to actually do this, but a 5-minute training session with a handout really, really seems to go a long way. They're able to take it home, use it, learn from it. Number 2, only use certified USB drives. People try to do it with drives they found on the show floor this week. You're probably asking for trouble. Same thing with just pulling the drive out while it's in use. You're probably asking for trouble, so you want to shut down the workspace before unplugging the drive. After provisioning, you also want to safely eject the USB drive. And finally, if you're using a USB duplicator, you don't want to configure offline domain join. Does anyone have an idea why you don't want to do that? Some mumbling. Thank you. Every machine would join with the exact same name, right? So you don't want to do that either. All right. That's kind of the main thing here, but some bonus content. So we put together a really deep OneNote for you guys, and we shared it off on hopefully a blog post that went live. So we have a FAQ, we have some perf data, other links to other things.
Yes. So we get it, step-by-step instructions, links to blogs, so that you guys could go ahead and not only create your own image using MDT to test it out, but also there are different methods of creating the Windows to Go drives. So all that information is in there. Let's say that you're in military government and you guys get one of those Windows to Go that have high security encryption built into that USB device. It shows you how you guys could use a port replicator using a PowerShell script to go ahead and deploy to over 1,000, 10,000 machines without having to worry about being on a secure network. So it has a lot of information. It also has links to tools such as disk speed, which is better than IO meter and also SQL IO. And the reason is that new tool, which we just open sourced it within the last year, it will let you go ahead and really get the throughput, the IOPS on the devices by bypassing the caching in Windows and also the caching on the controller. If you have a SCSI controller, it will bypass all that caching mechanism. It will really show you what your SCSI drive, for example, is capable of doing, or your SSD drive, SAS drive, and so on. So there's a lot of information out there, and it's currently being posted at 11 Central.
It's up.
All right, it's up.
It works.
On SPFE Plat. So.
Yeah, here's the OneNote. So it's all public for you guys to go ahead and dig in. You guys can take it with you. It's a lot of good links in here, all that good stuff. So any questions? Oh, a bunch. Okay.
Yes.
Have you seen any micro SD cards that support it for Express 3 so that it can be internal?
We have not. So the question
I
has
keep
been.
saying that because I'm one of the people that likes to watch things later,
Yes.
and it drives me insane when I hear like wah 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 wah, and it's like that's a great question, and the answer I'm like it's like reverse Jeopardy.
Right.
So
Go
ahead.
So the question was, is there a micro USB device that is Windows to Go certified? Currently, I have not seen any on our website, so nobody has. You go ahead and put in to get certified. So, and the other thing is on Surface Pro 3, you can't boot from the mini SD card, micro SD card. Thanks.
You have to manually set the computer name and go into the domain each time you edit one of these drives? I don't see how MDT can talk or image that to you. Win file, then you got
Right. So the question is, do you have to go ahead and put in a computer name every time that you image one of these Windows to Go drives? Just like a regular desktop tablet and laptop, we do have instructions on the Deployment Guys blog on how to auto-create computer names based on things like asset tags. So there are a whole bunch of customization that you could do within MDT or OSD or other products that you may use. You just have to go ahead and customize it, but you could do that. So to join to the domain, again, MDT, OSD, and other methods will let you go ahead and put in a password. Obviously, you want to do that on a network segment that is not available to the end users, just in case if they're sniffing network traces or anything like that, right? But it is possible. So again, with the MDT customization, you could customize your image quite a bit, and it could be as fast as 3 days, where you go ahead and create an image that has, Office and other applications installed on it with all the drivers, all the customizations that you're looking for, or sometimes it could be a week or 2 week engagement where, to really make it customized to the point where all the, the look and feel, the shell, for example, could be with applications that you guys want to be pinned on there. So there are a lot of things that we could do and that you guys are able to do. So just make sure to check the Deployment Guys blog post, and also blogs.technet.com/askcore. So there's a guy named Scott MacArthur that has a lot of customization information that's available. Yes.
We had one. Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any options for troubleshooting a corrupt Windows to Go drive? You got the 60 seconds, well, what if the user doesn't plug it in?
Okay. So the question is corruption on Windows to Go devices. So the one corruption that we automatically go ahead and detect before we even boot is we go ahead and check to see if the file system, the NTFS file system, is good or not. Okay. So as soon as we detect that if there is any kind of corruption, we go ahead and start running a check disk on it, and then reboot again, and then the system will come back up. So that's the automated thing that we have with Windows to Go, just like a normal laptop, or a tablet, or desktop would have. Yes. Thank you. Yes.
For like a Windows update and a forefront update,
Mm-hmm.
are they doing anything to try to contain their sprawl? I've had this thing for 3 years. I have to run this or this cleanup every time I run it. Just to clean up.
So the question is about the amount of Windows Update and how big the Windows side-by-side directory is getting, right? So the good thing is, one, for those of you that have Windows 7 SP01 out there, is that we do have a hotfix that is available on a blog post that we have at blogs.technet.com/askpfeplat that will go ahead and clean up anywhere from 600 megs to about 1.2 gigs of disk space for the Windows Update. And the good thing for Windows 8 is it's built in. You just have to run disk cleanup on it and it will go ahead and take care of that. So 8 and 8.1. Does that answer your question? It's automatic. It's automatic. So just like this defragmentation is built in now as a scheduled task, it's in there for you to go ahead and clean that up. Any other questions?
Right.
Yes.
What is your recommended way for escrowing the BitLocker?
Escrowing the BitLocker password. Escrowing the, so. Oh, yes. So the method is, yes, back up to Active Directory would be the way to go, right? Or NBAM, using
with
NBAM.
Here's that post for you with the cleanup.
Yes.
All those devices are the same devices that they've had for 2 or 3 years now. Is anyone getting pressure to make a form factor that solves the other guy's problem? Not have something that sticks straight out, have something that aligns better.
So the question is there any plans for these Windows to Go USB sticks to have different form factor? I'm not aware if our OEM vendors that are creating these are looking into a different form factor with micro USB, for example, micro SD, for example. But what we do have their contact information, so we'll go ahead and ping them. And what we'll do is on that OneNote that is on that blog post, we'll go ahead and update that information. How about that? All right. Any other questions? Yes?
I hate to ask a licensing question, but
Oh.
Yes.
understand with ECS Enterprise Cloud Suite, it now includes a Windows to Go license. So can you comment on that, the direction you're seeing that go?
So the question is about how the Enterprise Cloud Suite licenses affects that. Yeah, we'll have to dig into that. That's a new licensing thing. Remember I started with I'm not a licensing expert. Who let you in here? Yeah, see me after. I'll give you my card. We can. We'll dig in and find out for you.
Yes.
Does the underlying system have to have an operating system component? So essentially, could I have a bunch of machines with no operating system and only doing good drives?
The question is, can you have a machine that has no operating system installed and be able to boot to with Windows to Go? Absolutely. You could have a corrupt OS, main OS. We don't ever look at that hard drive when we're booting up. So yes, absolutely. It could be blank.
So the question, right? Can you use a Mac? Well, we almost got through it, guys. We almost made it all the way through the session. So yeah, I answered this to someone else when I was in line for breakfast. So it's not supported because the Apple has to be a Windows certified. They haven't gone through the certification process. That's pretty much what it is.
But it will work. So for those of your end users that are going ahead using a Mac but still using mostly all the Windows and Office capabilities, it works. But obviously it's not supported. So if you guys end up calling into support, they'll go, yeah, sorry, does it work on a Windows certified device? Yes. Any other questions?
Yeah.
BitLocker kind of tamper protection. How does it deal with moving that drive around and not prompt for recovery? Part of the basis of BitLocker.
So this is just the boot, is before the boot process, right? So this is just taking care of the having access to the boot sector. It doesn't encrypt the Windows to Go, but by default, it doesn't encrypt the Windows to Go hard drive. Yes. Scott,
Will Skype for
so the
business
question,
work?
does Skype for Business work? Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yes. Is third-party encryption supported in Windows to Go? It really
It
depends.
depends, yeah. Sure, good. Does it support direct access?
So the question is, does it support direct access? Absolutely. So we have it working on Windows 8, 8.1, direct access. It's 2 thumbs up. Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Go into a different window. Windows on a removable drive. So if Windows runs it runs because it's Windows. It's just on a removable drive.
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
If you're running Windows 8.1 on a Windows to Go drive, does it support in-place upgrades to Windows 10?
Does it support? Yes. It does support in-place upgrades. So you can still, take it to your remote location, right? And it will continue working fine. No, there's no problem there. Yes.
Can we control the lifetime and the expiration of Windows to Go?
Can we control device? You said device time?
Expiration.
What do you mean by that, by expiration? Like timeout on the device?
For terminated employees.
Oh, for terminated employees. So it's still going to
Yeah.
be like a regular Windows machine. So yeah.
Right.
Couldn't build a stick that's going to self-destruct in 30 days.
Some OEMs do that, not directly. That doesn't come from Microsoft, but some of the OEMs that manufacture the USB sticks, they have some value added. That value added may be they only let users boot from Windows to Go if that device is on the network and can still authenticate. Some other things can be time bomb, actually letting the user log in for 5 days without having a network connectivity to the network, to the cloud network. Otherwise, they will cancel or time bomb essentially the USB stick. There's a lot of different
Right.
value-added solutions that some OEMs are putting on top of it.
So the answer, so everyone can hear, is there's some OEMs that do have these features. It's not a Windows feature. It's a device. It'd have to be an OEM thing. Yeah.
But
Yes.
to hold the encryption keys in MBAN could effectively destroy the key. They couldn't access any of the data. They couldn't boot off it, right? They do the same.
True.
Or you could just take it off. You could disjoin it from the domain.
You could disjoin from the domain as well.
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
Is there any way, any configurability with respect to the 60-second timeout if we wanted to
Extended.
increase or
So
shorten that?
So the question is there a way to configure that 60-second timeout while if someone unplugs the drive? I don't think there is at all.
no, it's hard coded at 60 seconds. Sorry.
Windows to Go must be activated.
Sorry.
Windows to Go must be activated.
So the question is, does Windows to Go have to be activated? Yes. If the KMS, like any other machine, it would get the activation.
Right.
When you disconnect the USB key, is there any way to have a message appear?
There is a message that appears when you plug it back in, but not when you take it out.
Yeah, I would imagine they may not notice or accidentally got disconnected.
Well, it should hang the screen, right? It's like
But
with the,
they're not paying attention. If there was a message, maybe they'd be
Yeah, during login, if let's say that they don't put it in within that 60 seconds, when they log in their first time around again, they'll go ahead and get that message going, like make sure that the USB key stays plugged in. But yeah, we'll go ahead and take a feedback to the program manager that's in charge, Windows to Go, for that. Yes. Yes.
Could you just review, I guess, the licensing part that you had in the slide? If you've got a user who is going to use this as their primary computer, what do they need? You said if they already have, if they're the main user of an covered to use Windows to Go.
Yes.
But what if they're doing bring your own device? They don't have a computer on our domain with our Windows license. They're just using Windows to Go.
That would fall under the SA stuff.
It would fall under the software assurance.
So it still would be licensed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What if you need a SIM card for? Oh, if you have a SIM card on your laptop? Yeah, again, as long as you have the drivers that are installed on it, we'll be able to read that SIM card. Yes. All right.
We'll stick around for any other questions, but thanks for coming.
Thanks
Please-
a lot.
Please
Coach.
do your evals.
Have a safe trip back.